Bah. Hey, I have one viewer. Awesome. There is a chat button to the left of your screen. It's the blue icon. If you open that, you can leave a live chat as well. I'm going to wait until we have like 10 or 15 people. And on the registration list, there are 27 so far. So let's see how that goes. So maybe we'll start in about 5 minutes from now. So like I said before, we have about 5 people on the channel now, and I've seen 27 people indicated they wanted to be here, so I'll wait a bit longer before we start. So in about 5 minutes, we can start. So in the meantime, I'll just sit here, pretend everything is normal, no problems, be slightly nervous. If you guys want to chat, there's a chat box. There's an icon on the left of your screen. It's blue. If you click on it, it will open the chat, and you can leave comments there for live viewing. And let's see if I can invite people into here. Not really sure how that works. So I'm not 100% sure, but if you guys want to appear here on the channel as well, I think you can, but you probably have to turn on your camera or your audio or whatever. Not entirely 100% sure what the screen on your side looks like right now. So if someone could try and find out if that works, that would be great. Okay, well, there are not any new people coming in, so I'll just go and do my talk, I guess. Before we started, some people sent in questions, and what I want to do is answer them because I think they are interesting enough. And the the first one here is by Adi Lasic, and he asks me, why did you start with BlenderNation? And I was just thinking about that the other day, that BlenderNation is now almost 9 years old. And I still remember when I first started doing it, there was, Blender was just open source. It was very active it was a huge community, but it was very scattered all over the different websites. So back then we had Elysian, which was the predecessor of Blender Artists. And there were numerous international forums as well. There was the blender.org forum itself. And I found that I knew a lot of the stuff that was going on because I was so connected in the Blender community, and I knew that people were creating great artwork and doing great development work and doing great workshops and meetups, etc. But it never came together, so everything remained rather invisible for everyone else. And I was interested in blogging, which at that time was a relatively new thing. And I figured, well, you know what, I'll just give it a try and see if it's something for me. So one day I installed WordPress on my old web server. I still had, maybe you still remember, I had frotfrot.com, which was my original domain name where I hosted my old tutorials. And then I started publishing stories about what happened in the Blender community, and it caught on really well and really fast. And I decided that in order to have a good website, I wanted to have at least one story a day. So that's what I did. I would make sure I would have one article every day. So whenever you return, there would always be something new for you to find. And I think that strategy worked out rather well. And over the last 9 years, I don't think I've missed a lot of days, actually. So usually when I go away, I will pre-program stuff. So when I go on vacation for a couple of weeks, I don't really want to have to remember doing stuff for BlenderNation, and I'll pre-program good artworks, good tutorials, stuff that's not super time sensitive, for example. And for the weekends, I usually pre-program as well, so I don't have to keep on working all the time, obviously. But yeah, that's how I started. It was just out of interest, and by now it has grown into this monster of a website with over 1 million page views a month and 300,000 people visiting every single month. And it's become part of my job, really. I have advertising on the site. I need that to run it, and also to justify the amount of time I put in, because BlenderNation takes between 1 and 2 hours of work every single day, and then I include the weekend days. So if I talk to my wife, I have to defend spending so much time on BlenderNation. And most of the work is done here. This is the BlenderNation office. It's a bit of a mess. I'm in the middle of cleaning stuff up. I have my own office at home, as I'm a freelancer as well. So it's very good way to live for me. I work on other projects, like someone else asked. I work for Sketchfab. I did a lot of work for CG Cookie, and that's a little bit less right now. I work for 3D Hubs, the 3D printing community. And I also do a bit of work for Autodesk on the side, actually. So very interesting consulting stuff there. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work running this website, and looking at all the comments, making sure people don't start a fight, etc. So I hope you can appreciate that, and I hope you can at least enable the banner. Or do a donation or shop at Amazon through my affiliate links, etc. There's support links at the bottom of the page. But yeah, that's how I started. It became a job for me. And the second question by Joel Burness is, how many people are working with you posting news on BlenderNation? And most of the time, it's nobody. It's just me. Every now and then, I have volunteers who agree to help me out, and typically that lasts for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And then after that, they start doing something else, and that's fine. I mean, it has to be fun to do it as well. But I've looked into hiring people as well, like hiring freelance writers. But to be honest, I don't make enough money on the website to actually pay them a lot. So all the money I made went straight through them, and I ended up with nothing and still had to do a lot of work. So at the end of the day, it's me doing it. But oftentimes I also sit down at night with my laptop in front of the television, watch the news, open up my email, run the stories, etc. So it's a good way to work. Yeah. The other one by Regis Teff. I always wonder how to pronounce your name, so you have to teach me sometime. How do you juggle BlenderNation, Sketchfab, and CG Cookie? Well, I have a limited number of hours I work for each client. So I work 20 hours for one, and 8 for the other, and 8 for one, not another one yet. And as a freelancer, I'm very flexible. So sometimes I start really early in the morning. Sometimes I start a bit later if I bring the kids to school or whatever, if I don't feel like working right away. And then, I can take a bit of time in the evening to work as well. So actually doing BlenderNation is rather easy because I can take 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It doesn't have to be a block of a couple of hours each day. Usually I do it in my downtime. So I work on a project for an hour, I get bored, I make some coffee, I look at my BlenderNation email. If there's anything interesting, I'll put it up right away. If not, I'll keep it for tonight or tomorrow, for example. So it's not a big problem to juggle the tasks, really. So it's not too worried about that. The future of BlenderNation, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm always thinking, like, am I reaching everyone in the Blender community? I mean, a lot of traffic on BlenderNation comes from the blender.org website, as you can imagine. But I'm not reaching, I think I'm not reaching some of the international communities, like in China or South America, etc. They have their local hubs as well. And maybe BlenderNation could play a role in there. There have been people who suggested that I create and sell my own content, but I don't really think that's my place or my ambition. I want to share all the exciting stuff that's happening in this community, and I don't really have to add anything on top of that right now. Well, for example, something like this that I'm doing this hangout right now. It's fun for me because I want to investigate a little bit how this works. But it's not really like I need to make news about me, right? I need to make news about you and tell what you do with Blender, etc. But international work is interesting. I've been thinking about doing partnerships with some Blender-related companies as well. You may have noticed that I have done a few experiments with the header graphic, the big artwork at the top of the page. You can actually rent that for 50 euros a day. Everyone on the website will see that during the entire day, and you can put your logo on it, etc. And I did that with CG Cookie and with Blender Guru. And I think that's a great way for companies to support me as well. And I often write about their content, etc. So it's a little favor they do in return, I imagine. But otherwise, I'm always looking into optimizing the site a bit better. That's why I did the redesign half a year ago. I was really fed up with the old look, and I wanted to have a way to to expose more of the really good content that was on BlenderNation, because there were only 10 items on the homepage back then. And on a busy day, you might not even have time to catch them all, and it would already fall off the page and onto the next one. So you would never, you could miss a lot of stuff. And that's why now I have the list of news, and underneath that I have these sections for art and education and community. And I try to find more relevant related stuff. So if you're reading an artwork, if you're looking at an artwork, it will try to find matching stuff that you might find interesting as well, even if it's older than that. And I think that's relevant. It's still relevant. Even if I look at stuff that's 8 years old, it's often still interesting to see what we did back then. It's like a blast from the past sometimes, but it's still really cool to see that. Yeah. So that's the future. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me what you think the future should be as well. Is there anything in particular you miss from BlenderNation? Do you think I should focus more on certain areas or do more reporting on stuff? Would that make the website more useful to you? Do you think I should add a forum? I don't think I should add a forum, but maybe it could be very useful. I don't know. Things like that. Would you like to have your own page on BlenderNation where you could put your own artwork and stuff up, or are there already plenty of places where you can do that right now? So it's if you have a good idea, you can always let me know, and it's that's fine, of course. Then let's see what other questions we have. Create a tool to erase animation. I'm not going to answer that because this is not that's a Blender development question, and I'm just talking about myself right now. And I really don't know a lot about how the development process work. Well, I know a bit about how it works, but I'm not sure what's in the pipeline right now, for example. Then a question by Hideki Vex. Do you want to do other hangouts like this in the future? I don't know. You tell me. Do you think it's useful? Right now, I'm just talking and ranting. It's a bit weird to sit here on my own and speak to the screen. But maybe if we have a different set topic and someone to help me with the chat and questions, etc., that might be very, very useful. That's and I think on the Hangout you can also invite other people, but I'm really not sure how to get you guys into this session right now. You should be able to do it, I think, but I'm too inexperienced about that, so sorry for that. But I'm sure I could invite people and do like live interviews and have you guys submit questions while we're doing this as well. By the way, if you still have questions, if you go to the left of your screen, there is also a Q&A button. If you hit that, you can put in new questions for me to answer. And I say that because I'm nearing the end of my list right now, so I'm not sure what to talk about anymore. Yeah. But yeah, again, if you think it's a good idea to have these sessions, if you enjoy it, just let me know, and I can always do more like this. It's fine. It doesn't take a lot of time for me to do, just 30 minutes, so that's fine. Yeah. What else is new? We have the Blender conference in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be there on Friday and Saturday if all goes well. And I already mentioned I'm working for Sketchfab these days, and we're planning to bring a 3D scanner so I can scan the face of every participant. And to give you an idea of what that looks like, let me just... So we have this nifty iPad scanner that makes it really easy to 3D scan someone. And I'm going to find my own 3D scan right now for you, so you can see the back of my head as well. Hang on. Folders. Sketchfab team. So the idea is that I'm going to scan everyone there. That is to say, everyone who wants to be 3D scanned, of course. And then you will be able to download your model from the Sketchfab website later, and you can actually 3D print it as well. All the models are 3D printable. Now I can share a link. Is it this? So confusing. I'm going to put the link on the Facebook page, guys, because I don't really know where else to put it. There you go. So if you reload the Facebook, the Google Plus page where the announcement of this Hangout is, of course. So so yeah, that sounds like fun. It also sounds like a nightmare because scanning 300 people is going to be a lot of work. So maybe I could use an assistant for that. If anyone's up for the job, just let me know. Yeah, there you go. The link is on there now. I have some more questions in the meantime. Great. Henry Goldsack is saying, I love your site, but mobile support is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes it has problems loading in Android and Chrome. And yes, I have looked into that. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a request for some help, and people pointed me at the banner that's currently on the website. And that's what I say. It's a non-responsive banner, so it's always the same width. And the rest of the website is responsive, so it should like scale down and then properly reflow all the articles. So I am going to fix that this week. So everything should be a lot better after that. If not, just let me know. Send me a message through the contact form on the website, because the mobile support is very high on my list. Like this week, should definitely be fixed. Then. Question by Dale Beach: are you ever surprised by how people react to articles on BlenderNation? Not anymore. No, it's I've seen it all. I think sometimes what does surprise me is that people who I know as very reasonable, they can sometimes still explode and get into like very nasty fights with each other. Discussions that surprise me are also people who are very like dedicated to open source being free, etc., and who are like fighting the idea of a Blender market or of freelancers making a living with Blender. And I do not agree with that personally. I know that Tom Roosendaal doesn't agree with that either. The idea is that Blender is there to help you achieve your goals, and if that's just making art, that's fine. If it's making a living by writing books, that's fine. If it's making games and selling those, that's fine as well. And there are some licensing issues, of course, but open source and making a living don't collide, I think. But yeah, that's still something that sometimes does surprise me. I had a very nasty troll about a year ago, and he was actually threatening me and my family, so that got really, really nasty and unpleasant. And I had a really hard time getting him banned from the website as well. So then it does make me wonder, like, are these people sane? Do they have a mental problem? What is their issue to pick a random fight like that? So sometimes that's well, rather disheartening, I must say. But for the rest, I know a lot of the people, and everyone who responds. Usually, I recognize the names, and you kind of get to know people. And that's the good thing about the Blender conference, is that you'll meet some of them. And then it's like, I've known you for years online, and now we finally see face to face, and that changes your relationship again, of course. Yeah. But managing a community is usually it's fun. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it's good. Yeah. Good. Questions keep coming in. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I have about 5 to 10 minutes left. Jan Marcinowski asks, if somebody gets advanced video tutorials, get boring and hard to focus on, how do you think a professional can keep educating? So that's something I researched that earlier today by looking at like online training options. And I agree, I think like after a while, there's only so many video tutorials you can watch, and you need to have a more personal interaction to really advance. So a teacher can see what you're doing and point out where you can improve. And if it's only one direction teaching material, that's much harder. And there are some websites who already offer that, like Animation Mentor is a good example, I think. Although it's not really one-on-one, it's teacher training a class, so it's kind of different again. I think the problem, though, is that if you want to have real one-on-one education, the price is going to go up again as well. So if you are super serious about your job and about advancing your career, then you're probably you should be willing to invest like, I don't know, $25 or $50 an hour to have a personal teacher coach you in your skills. But I don't really see that happening in the free material. Maybe with Hangouts like this, there could be like a more interactive sessions where a good teacher picks one student for half an hour each week and everyone else can watch what they're doing, etc. I don't know. Maybe that's a good idea for someone else to explore. Yeah. Regis asks, do you ever get too few header submissions? And it doesn't happen a lot. It happens sometimes. So if you pay close attention, you might see that sometimes I reuse headers that were used, I don't know, half a year or a year before. Typically, I get plenty of submissions. I review everyone, each and every one of them, of course, and usually I have to reject about 25% because I really do want the headers to look good and reflect well on BlenderNation and on the Blender community, of course. And usually, if I don't have enough submissions, I will put out a call on Twitter or Facebook and ask for people to submit their work. But you can always submit. It's no problem if you submit a lot. Well, don't submit like 100 in a week, but a couple every week. That's fine. Yeah. Max Hammond is asking, what's your and other thoughts on covering wider CG news, not just Blender news? I like reading the non-Blender articles sometimes. Oh, that's great. That's really good to hear because I'm trying to. I'm experimenting a little bit with that. I'm wondering how narrow my focus should be. Probably you can get your news from other websites as well. So is it relevant to have it on BlenderNation or not? And what does make it relevant? Maybe we can have like an email conversation about that. Like, what do you think makes for interesting non-Blender news and what doesn't? So if you want, shoot me an email at bart@blendernation.com. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts about that. Then there's Regis saying, the first Blender tutorial I ever saw was the old mineshaft one. And I was thinking about that one earlier this week. I thought I should redo it for Blender 2.7.2. So it's completely new, and the old one is 15 years old, if not more. So it's horribly outdated. But I speak to so many people who say, "Well, this is how I learned Blender, with your dolphin and the pawn in a hurry that's jumping all over the chessboard, and the mine." And I had some other. They're still on my website, but they look horrible, of course. So I definitely want to do that, like revamp it, so I can use it another 15 years. And other Blender artwork, no, not really. Well, I'm active in the 3D printing world, and I use Blender a lot to like inspect models, to clear them up, for when I do 3D scans. I use it to cut off edges and material I don't need, etc. For example. But I'm not a great Blender artist. I've set myself a goal to do 1 Blender tutorial a day. Even if it's a small one, because I want to keep up. So that's the thing I'm doing these days. And I have the advantage that I see a lot of tutorials, of course, so it's easy for me to pick stuff. Another one by Regis is, ever thought about starting a non-software specific news site? No, not really. This is taking a lot of time and energy right now, and I have family. So for now, that's fine. But if you have a proposition to make, that's talk to me. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Then I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes to come up with any other questions. There's nothing on Google+. And then, unless there's anything else, I'll just call it a day. I'll edit the video and put it up on BlenderNation so everyone can laugh at me and my rant here in front of the camera. I was wondering, I'd have a lot of Blender books and stuff, but they're downstairs, so I can't share them with you. I'll do that in another session, okay? So I have a lot of like really old books. I have the original 1.5 manual somewhere, and tons of T-shirts, of course. It's driving my wife crazy to see all that stuff. DVDs, anything. A lot of 3D prints as well, but those are not really Blender related. So here's my favorite little Space Invader keychain thing. Can you see that? And I have robots from the Ultimaker people. And other stuff, I imagine, must be somewhere. I have a lot of that here. All right, guys. No other questions for me? Last chance for today. And if not, I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to, if you have, okay, let's say if you have follow-up questions, please put them on the BlenderNation comment section so everyone can see it, and I'll answer them there. And if you have suggestions for other topics, or if you think I should do this more often, then just let me know on the comments as well. And there's another question by Hideki. He says, that is the tool you want for a better Blender. Not really sure what you mean. Maybe you want to say, what is the tool you want for a better Blender? Well, the thing that I feel could make Blender a lot better, and I know there are already people thinking about this, is that it would be really great if there was a layer on top of the user interface, so you could make a Blender for kids or Blender for education, for example, or a Blender for 3D printing, or a Blender for a specific math class where you have the scene set up with just a few buttons to do something interactive and learn something, for example. And I think once you have that, and you let the community build new interfaces and explore new concepts, that could be really, really powerful. But I realize that's not an easy thing to do. So it's a 3D app. You can't just rip off the interface and replace it with a new one, because the interface and the interactivity are very interlinked, of course. So I'm going to leave that to the experts. It's something that I think could be really good, but they'll have to decide if that's a possibility or not. And Regis says, nice house. Well, yeah, thank you. It's actually, I'm sitting in the attic here. And when I bought this house about 7 years ago, the attic was original. And it's a house from the 1930s. So it was just wood, and the wind was blowing through the roof, etc. It was horrible. So when I started freelancing, I had to renovate it and built the entire floor here with nice lights and extra bathroom stuff, nice open space. And it's a really nice and quiet place for me to work. Absolutely. So Thanks for the compliment. I enjoy that. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it for me today. I'm going to wrap this up, put it on the website, and let me know if you think I should do it again. So, thanks for coming. Bye-bye.